Jason.
And this is the Perfectly Screwed Podcast. Yeah. Oh, speaking of the old Bills, they're doing pretty well this year, by God.
Yeah, not too bad.
They only got, yeah, I know. They only got one problem. One problem that I see making it to the bowl, bub.
I mean, it's a problem for everybody.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it is going to be a problem for whoever goes to the Super Bowl this year, probably. You know, KC, 3 years straight. And that's going to be the Bills' biggest problem. If they can beat Kansas City, they got it.
I mean, that's...
I'll give it to you. If they can get past KC,
we'll see.
They got it. That's the only problem. Now, they don't. Do they face KC in the regular season? I know they'll face them in the playoffs, but
they beat them.
They
beat them a couple weeks ago.
They beat Kansas City
30-21.
No shit.
In Buffalo. For Buffalo, like, if they get the number one, they get the number one seed. That would be huge, obviously. So they're 10-2, and Kansas City's 11-1.
Yeah. See, and that's the problem. Is them two. If, like I said, they've got to play them. They got to play them again before the playoffs, right?
The thing is, Kansas City doesn't even really. Baltimore worries me more than Kansas City.
Really? Baltimore?
Pittsburgh's pretty good.
Pittsburgh's good.
But Chargers aren't bad.
KC is better than it. Actually, you guys got a very rough division.
KC has to, they have to. You got to beat them.
Yeah, they're the only ones that are the problem. I mean,
that's all there is to it.
Back-to-back Super Bowls. Did they win 2 or 3? 2.
They've won 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
They've won 3 out of like the last 4.
And they're trying to make this one 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it's
a
tall task.
Yeah.
But you never know.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
They almost got it last year. They came damn close.
The Bills have got beat 3 times.
You know who else?
The last 3 times they played Kansas City in the playoffs, they got beat. So you just got to keep trying. I mean, eventually the fucking odds will just turn in your favor and you'll win one.
Yeah. You know who I'd like to see go, though, because they've never been the Lions. At least once. At least get to the bowl, guys. I'm not going to say you're going to win.
I think they will get there, honestly.
I think they might do it this year. Detroit might get to the bowl this year.
Although Philadelphia's.
Yeah. Philly's
looking good.
Real good.
So.
But
Detroit's the same as Buffalo. If they get the 1 seed, they're just going to be tough to beat at home.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the 1, then they're beatable.
Yeah, if Detroit gets to the bowl, though, I don't think they can beat Buffalo or Kansas.
If it was Bills Lions, that would be
a killer Super Bowl.
Be
yeah,
epic. Yeah,
yeah. And the
Bills play the Lions.
Yeah,
not this Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Well, the Bills, that's not going to be a hard win. And if they go to the bowl against the Bills will probably take it. I mean, if they went to the bowl against KC would definitely beat them.
You just don't know, man.
That's
the beauty of the football.
No, I do know
the beauty of the NFL.
I do know that my team's not getting there.
1 game.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. I do know for a fact that the Saints are not going to the bowl.
No.
They might make the playoffs. They could make the playoffs.
Possible.
But not the bowl.
Right.
They might get to the second round, but no, we're not going all the way. But I mean, we're doing better than the Bears, but only by a little.
Right.
Did they take the Rams, by the way? I forgot to look up that game.
Rams won.
The Rams won?
21-14.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good, boys.
No, it's not. No, not at all.
No.
But there's still 5 games left.
Yeah, but
that's the other thing.
But see,
the other thing is there might be a team.
But see, if they
that
beat
nobody
the
expects
Rams
right now, that'll win 5 games in a row, and they'll be fucking hot going in.
Right. But see, if they beat the Rams, I gave them a chance. But with a loss to the Rams, it's not looking good for the Saints to get to the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
And the Bears definitely ain't getting there. The Bears they've just destroyed their chances pretty much. I mean, it's just...
Bears are done.
Yeah, Bears.
But they got a good young team. And
well, that's like the Saints.
They just fired their coach, so
they're rebuilding. The Saints are there, and they're getting there. I mean, they lost their quarterback last year before.
Yeah, you got to find a
you got to get a quarterback. You got to get some people to support him. I mean, it's a rebuilding process. Unlike the Browns, who have been rebuilding for the last 10 years. The last 30
Browns
years.
Rough.
I don't even want to talk about Cleveland, boy.
Browns are rough, but the Jets and the Giants, I think, are the two.
Yeah.
They're the two.
Yeah.
The two worst run organizations in football both play in the same exact stadium.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, but they're called New York.
It is what it is there.
Can't make this shit up.
Hey, we play in New Jersey, but we're New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both absolutely just god awful. with no fucking promising future in sight.
What are you talking about? The Browns have less of a future than they do. The Browns should just stay in Cleveland and practice all year long. I don't think they've won 2 games the whole season.
The Browns are a better team than both the Jets and the Giants. They really
they're
are.
all in the same.
They really are. The Browns just fucked up with.
They fuck up a lot.
They just fucked up with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. And the Bengals are... Well, the Bengals aren't bad.
They're 4-8.
The Bengals are doing okay.
The Bengals are good, but they're 4-8.
Yeah, this year they haven't been as good as previous years. Last year and the year before they were doing much better.
They have no defense this year.
No, none. But anyways, we're not talking about football today, although we could.
Right.
I could sit here and talk about football for hours, but we're not.
Right.
We are talking about occultism in the Nazism. Say that 5 times fast. Occultism and Nazism. Yeah. So what do you know about occultism and Nazism? By the way, speaking of Nazism and the drinking game, God knows.
Right.
If I fuck up a word, please take a shot.
Very well could happen.
Yeah, saying a lot of German words.
But occult is just a word that means hidden. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about the occult, you're talking about hidden knowledge.
Well, SS alone, the fact that they named their secret military police the SS, that has occult symbolism. It's based on the black sun, which is a symbol that was used by the SS, and that's where they get the S's in those shapes.
Right.
It's from the black sun itself, which represents mystical and occult power sources. The Nazis used a lot and researched a lot of occultism in Nazism.
They were big on Saturn, right?
Yeah. Mainly Heinrich Himmler was the main driving force.
Heinrich Himmler,
yeah. Sorry. What did I say? Backwards?
Heinrich, yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Heinrich Himmler. He was the one who drove the Nazi occult engine, basically. Hitler actually was not an occultist. Hitler told him it was a complete waste of time what he was doing and to stop and concentrate more on getting rid of the Jews and stop worrying so much about this occultism.
But also when you're talking about occult, like I said, you're just talking about Hitler. The Nazis were real big on actually searching for. They were interested in, and they were searching for the Holy Grail.
Yes.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yes.
The
Spear of Christ.
Yes, they believed in all of this.
Well, Himmler did. Like I said,
right.
Hitler did not. Hitler thought it was a complete crazy waste of time, but Himmler was a huge researcher into the occult.
Himmler was...
He believed that the Aryan nation...
Hitler was all fucking doped up.
Yeah, Hitler. Yeah.
Himmler
Himmler
ran shit.
Yeah, Himmler ran shit. Himmler's the one that was the
He's
head.
He's the cold-blooded motherfucker. Dude.
When we talk about occultism, we talk about Nazism, and really when we talk about Nazis in general, what you got to understand, Hitler was a figurehead. He was someone they looked up to.
For sure.
The one who was actually running the Nazis, head of the SS, head of the Gestapo was Himmler.
Yeah. So,
Himmler was the one who ran.
Hitler was just sitting up in his...
Yeah. In fact, most people think that Hitler didn't really know everything that was going on.
Smoking meth. Like, I just want to be known as the man who rules the world.
Right. Hitler's the one who started all
I don't care how the fuck you guys do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hitler
started all of this. Now, given. And Hitler's the one that took over the government and started the Nazi Party. But at a certain point, like you said, Hitler was very distracted with drugs, with the political side of all of this. Himmler was the one who established all the extermination camps. He was the one that oversaw every bit of the extermination. He oversaw the Gestapo, which was the military police who abducted and tortured and killed all the Jewish people.
Right.
He also was head of the SS, which was the army that Hitler supposedly ran, but Himmler actually ran.
Right.
Himmler was also the one who decided to start all of this experimentation on humans for occult purposes.
Right.
So the Nicholas Goodrich Clark wrote a book in 1985, The Occult Roots of Nazism, and discusses the possibility link between the ideas of the occult and those of Nazism. The book's main subject is the racist occult movement of Ariosophy, a major strand of nationalism in Germany and Austria during the 19th and early 20th century. And he introduces his work as an underground history concerned with the myths, symbols, and fantasies that bear the development of the Nazi style of thinking. The movement built on the earlier ideas of the Volkslicht movement, a traditionalist pan-German response to industrialism and urbanization.
What is the Nazi style of thinking?
The Nazi style of thinking, which is interesting because it comes from occult views. Himmler was a big studier of the Sumerian tablets and the Emerald tablets of Thoth. And Himmler believed that the Aryans were direct descendants of the Atlantean race and of the Anunnaki. His actual belief was that the true Aryans, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, very strong, very tall Aryan perfection is what he called them, was a direct descendant of the Anunnaki, and that everyone else, especially Jews, were, as he said, bred with 8 people. Were the offshoots of the Atlanteans.
Right.
But the Aryans, they were the pure Atlanteans. And it's funny because Himmler was the most anti-Aryan looking person that you could imagine, which was amazing. He had brown hair, brown eyes, very thin, very short, very unimposing, nerdy. For all intents and purposes, he was the exact opposite of what he was trying to portray. Right, yeah. And the thing is, that's the interesting thing about Himmler. A lot of people believe that Himmler hated himself and hated his type of people, and that's why he persecuted those type of people and idolized the blonde-haired, blue-eyed form. See, a lot of people contribute all of what Himmler believed to Hitler, and it wasn't Hitler. Hitler was mainly a politician. It was Himmler who had all these ideas.
So they wanted to change the race. They wanted one race.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it, they wanted basically to manipulate the gene pool and try to create a one-race world. But what was their political views? You know
what was their
saying?
political views?
Yeah,
their political views.
So say Nazi wins the war, or the Nazis win the fucking war, and they do take over the world. Say they're running the world. What would we be? Our government be? What would our, you know what I mean?
Well, socialism, basically. They were socialist in nature. They believed the government was the main power, and that they would take most of your income, but they would provide for the people. At least that was the backdrop of all
Canada.
Yeah, but much more of a kind of aristocratic rule, more disciplined, more you do exactly what the government tells you, we'll kill you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not as much. Canada and France and them are socialists to a point, but the people still, they're more democratic socialism, whereas Nazism was closer to communism, really.
Dictatorship.
Yeah, dictatorship. Much closer to communism than to socialism. I mean, communism is a socialist idea.
Right.
But a much stricter socialist form than, say, your standard socialism. But another interesting thing that Himmler and them believed in were witches, werewolves, and vampires.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were into all the dark arts.
Himmler researched ways. He studied the Nordic traditions, and he also researched ways to make superhumans. He would use magical relics to try to cast spells on Aryans, and he believed that injecting Jewish people with animal blood would therefore possibly spawn a super werewolf or vampire. So he would, while without any anesthesia, he would try different mind-altering drugs like LSD, PCP, and then he would inject these people while they were not anesthetized at all with animal blood, hoping to turn them into animals. And he killed most of them.
Oh,
millions. By trying to do this. He also tried to summon demons to the earth. He looked for the Ark of the Covenant and for the Chalice of Christ, believing it had magical powers. He performed ritual sacrifices trying to summon Satan and the demons to earth.
Yeah, dude. These dudes were yeah, these dudes were something else, man. And they were close. They were close to fucking taking over, man.
Yes, they were.
Don't fucking
and only
shit yourself.
Only because Hitler was, and see, this is the thing. See, Hitler didn't know what was going on because Hitler was worried about the war and about military strategy more so than what was going on in his own country.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where he fucked up. Like, a lot of this is put on Hitler, but a lot of the atrocities that happened during this time was mostly this Himmler guy. Yeah. It really wasn't Hitler. Hitler was focused on the war. And Hitler was a brilliant, brilliant general. Brilliant. Beyond belief brilliant. And that's why they almost won the war. Actually, truthfully, if Russia and the United States had not gotten involved like they did, if Hitler had never invaded Russia and the United States had not got involved on the European front, they could have taken over Europe.
Yeah.
Easily.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They would have taken Europe. Now, they would have never got Russia, and they would have never got the U.S. The armies were too large, and Russia was inhospitable at the time, because they were trying to take over Russia in the winter, which, if anybody researches Russia, that's almost impossible in the ground war.
But I think that the Nazis were more advanced technologically than both Russia and the United States.
Not as far as the atomic bomb. The U.S. had the atomic bomb, which would have tipped the scales either way.
Right.
I mean, at a certain point, you can drop an atomic bomb on Germany if it gets to that point, and that's bye-bye Germany. I mean, they did on Japan. That's how they ended World War II to begin with. They finally just said, we're tired of fucking around with you people. And since we had the atomic bomb, and nobody else did at the time, that is into war no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
I mean, but, to go to that extreme, you would have eliminated a whole country. But some of the experiments they did on the people at Auschwitz and other camps under the direction of Himmler. Let's see. One was blood coagulation experiments. They made a substance from beaten apple pectin, which they believed aided in blood clotting. And he would then take Jewish people, shoot them in the neck or chest, with no anesthesia, by the way, and give them this beat apple pectin juice in their veins and hope it clotted the wound without killing them to see if he could stop people from dying on the battlefield in Germany.
God.
Come to find out, this didn't help at all.
No.
In fact, they bled out.
Even if it does, in fact, clot your blood, and it very well might, it's not, in fact, going to clot your blood instantaneously.
No.
As you have a piping hot lead bullet piercing through your goddamn neck.
No, didn't seem to work.
Jesus.
Another one he tried is he would tie down two Jewish people. And he would try to take bone from one, muscle from one, or nerves from one and transplant them into another person without anesthesia to try to make the other person a superhuman. He believed that he could take ruins from ancient Nordic tribes, put them around the person, take muscle and bone from you while you're completely conscious and alive and screaming your bloody head off, and then transplant it into another human being and graft it in by sewing it onto them. And this would cause the other person to just automatically accept your bone and nerves and muscles. He was known to cut the legs off of people and sew them onto another person and then use electricity and Nordic ruins to try to stimulate the leg into moving. Again, didn't work, but he thought he could make a three-legged human being.
No wonder we'd rather make robots and AI. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you sit around and watch a motherfucker try this shit, and it's like, oh, that ain't gonna fucking work. I mean, these motherfuckers were cruel, dude. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, so he also liked to experiment on twins, thinking that he could sew the twins together to make one person. So he took two 7-year-old Jewish girls, and he took the urinary tract from one of them and sewed it into the colon and urinary tract of the other twin, trying to make two people into one. He ended up killing both of them. If any of the twins didn't survive the procedures, which most did not, he would dissect them to compare them post-mortem. Again, he did this while they were conscious, with no anesthesia.
I mean, just somehow, in some way, these people were able to, they were so racist. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And just so much hatred towards a certain other group of people that they obviously felt no remorse. Like they could literally just do whatever the fuck they wanted.
He also experimented
experiment on any way they wanted.
Yes, he also experimented with 14 different twins to see if he injected the heart of chloroform into one twin, the other one's heart would stop. Mm. Again, didn't work too well. He killed them. Out of 1,500 twins that were subjected to these experiments, only 200 survived. Mm. He also did many experiments on victims to see if they could withstand hypothermia, because at this time they were going into Russia and he wanted to figure out how to stop the cold.
Yeah.
So these attempts, attempt number 5, he put in 41.4 degrees Celsius water, and he then recorded their temperature until they died. He did this with a bunch of people, all the way down to 39 degrees in the water. He would put prisoners in the water and then put them naked in the open air for several hours as temperatures dropped as low as -6 Celsius, 21 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my God.
He wanted to study the physical effects of cold exposure. He also tried different ways to rewarm the survivors, trying to get them to live if he rewarmed them. Most died. He would also subject some experiment people to low pressure chambers, again taking ruins from Nordic symbols and putting religious symbols around them, thinking that God could save them. In fact, asking him to pray to God while he slowly lowered the pressure in the chamber to see if he could stop German pilots that ejected at high altitudes from dying.
Yeah.
So he would slowly lower the pressure until their lungs caved in and their bodies contorted, killing them. Mm. Out of 200 subjects, 80 died outright and the others were murdered because they didn't work too well with the experiments.
It's just nuts, man.
Yeah, at a certain point,
it's just torture, and
at a certain point, you got to say this is not experimentation. You're just out of your fucking mind.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, he put crosses around him, say, "Pray to God, maybe He'll save you."
Yeah.
I mean, at what point do you say, "I'm just out of my fucking mind"?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because they're not seeing it as that, because they don't think of the people they're doing it
to as human
beings, right?
But at a certain point, you got to say that all these religious symbols aren't working, and the cult is complete bullshit.
Of course,
right. Just as Hitler was telling him, Hitler told the motherfucker, "Look, dude, you're wasting your time with this nonsense."
Common sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't sew goddamn twins together and make one being.
Yeah.
Like, who in the
you
fuck
can't
would even
sew
think
a leg off of somebody onto another person and be like,
hit him with some electricity.
Yeah, we're going to make a 3-legged gaff.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
No, that's fucking nuts, man.
I mean,
it's absolutely insane.
He believed he could inject animal blood into people and turn them into werewolves. I mean, goddamn. How crazy are you, man?
But like...
I mean, I get a little bit of
thinking.
Think
about just watching people freeze to death.
Jesus.
Just freeze to death.
And he didn't care.
And not giving a fuck. It's just hard to wrap your head around.
He'd freeze him to death and then try to warm him back up, see if he could revive him.
Yeah.
Then throw him back out there again. Well, they survived. He's breathing. Throw him back out in the cold for another 20. Let's see if we can revive him again.
Can we just freeze humans?
Yeah.
Just throw them in the freezer for a little bit and bring them back to life? I mean, come on, man.
I mean, sure, sewing the leg didn't work, I mean, maybe we didn't chant the right Nordic spell.
Like Mr. Himmler, a hot pocket that falls out and put back in the freezer isn't the same. What do you think a goddamn human is going to live? I mean, come on, man.
Well, this motherfucker thought he could sew bones and fucking nerve endings to people and they become superhuman. He's sewing arms and legs on folk and going, yeah, they'll have 3 arms now. We'll just... I mean, what would he have done if this Jewish guy that he was experimenting on just jumped up off the table with 3 arms and superhuman strength and just killed everybody in the room?
Right. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? You're turning the guy you've been torturing for 2-3 hours into a superhuman. What do you think's going to happen if he does become superhuman? You're the first one getting your throat ripped out, bruh.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Well, anyways, this was our episode on Nazism and occultism and experimentation by the Nazis, and we will see you next time.
Later.